and can only be appeased by breath breaking past cracked lips like wind over sharp mountains. Ink can signify. It can only chase the wind. No more is the wind playing with hymns of old ladies' dresses on Sunday morning. How do you write that down? How do you write crossing a desert called an ocean, transatlantic transgression, pressed like powder into exploding purple super beings, packed into projects, overflowing with product. Everybody swinging, and ain't nobody got time to duck. But we are still here. I write that down. What does he know about real life without commercials? Oh, you write it down. On paper. Who is guilty, who was where first, who discovered what, and the stories of who owns, and who gets written on pieces of paper. Rooms full of pieces of paper on which lives turn, fortunes are secured, knowledge is reified, lies are verified by the sheer weight and volume of them written on pieces of paper. Paper let them sell my great-great-grands in the marketplace as livestock while selling other people's land by the parcel to feed their own dreams, rising like ocean waves. The people of ink and fences, bearing written testimony of their divine right and established ownership of everything, neatly written on pieces of paper. If you have an army, you can write a people onto the margin of the great drama of life. You can make them a ragged decoration that adds texture to reality. You can write them into the places where you stand in the commons superior because it's written that way. Say, God said it. Ink and paper made it. Write it on pieces of paper. You see, legal ink on bills of sale attempted to turn people into property. Now you can own the chair, but you can't own a man. It don't matter what ink said. You can't sell a man. I don't care if you got a county seal, overwhelming need, and an army. You can't take his days, the hands God gave, for his sweat. You can't own a man. Not even in 13 amendments, not his dreams, his fears, his superstition, his thoughts of water rising, his blue-green spunk, his tilted head, his not bowed unbrokenness, rising every morning filled with seed, leaning into the night with his face and faith in God's hands. You can't own a man. You can cage him. You can surround him by evil in a land far, far, far away from home. You can steal his music. You can mistreat his women and his children, but you can't own him. His women will remember him. His sons will become him. His children will grow to understand it. This bump knows songs that your broken tongue can't translate. You may take his drum. The beat goes on. The rhythm is unbroken. You can't own a man. Coming from and returning to dust, head to the sky, filled with the breath of God. A river of ink can't change that. It will not signify. Spoon out his soul, in his thoughts. You can't own the breath in a lung, the blood in an artery. Even if you wash your face in it, it ain't yours. You can't own a man. Unless you can write food on a plate or words on paper. They have little to do with empty bellies bloated as if hunger were a bee growing in the vacuum, drawing flies to eyes, puckering brows, painting something that has no translation in eyes, needs to be felt to understand. Such profanity has little to do with shades of indigo slanted, or so one would think. Words on paper cannot cut through flesh, sever arteries, causing you to bleed out in a sandstorm of depleted uranium that will kill your killers. Killers unconceived children. An irony unwritten. And the laws and books and treaties deleted from history, manicured to fit the agenda of the storyteller. Not all tragedies are staged for appreciation. Some are footnotes in unsung operas that don't make the page. No manual for humanity. Nothing written connects your brother's homelessness to the depths of your callousness. No strict correlation between his lack and your greed. No concordance that translates your hunger and soul to his children's emaciated bodies in need of milk and human kindness. Where's the Bible that starts with an English youth who learns to leverage and rationalize his right to a future against the existence of the children of the Longhouse? Where is the sequel that solves the riddles plaguing Bobby Johnson's sons, who have to be sold down countless rivers, overstand their desperate need to decipher midnight politics, the fall of Mubarak, and all the faces of Gaddafi, along with lies about a post-race era offered by a cafe au lait Harvard boy wearing a skull and bones tattoo with handcuffs? I am creating a global coloring book to teach manners to nappy-headed heretics, warning them about the danger of harboring assumptions that have been spoon-fed, and the folly of playing with knives in close quarters and shared circumstance that cross borders, cultures, and realities clashing like zombies in tanks, leaving little room for allegiance, multiplying chaos in this thin, fratricidal air we breathe against the last coil. It means now what it meant then. Now, it was a piece of fire under his eye, announcing that he had been able to be king. And the setting blazing on his chest was more target than vest. It didn't mean now what it meant then. It weighed more or less then or now. Sometimes it was hard for him to remember. Body was a map. He wrote the tale before he lived it. Ink told it now after he had carried it. Could not put it back where he found it because that's how it works. They know you before you speak. If they don't know the code, they translate with their broken tongues, and he forgets to care. It used to weigh less, maybe more. He can't remember. But his body is a piece of art. Telling the story, carrying it, it used to weigh more. Sometimes he could care less about how they weigh, measure, teaspoons and pounds. It's all the same. He got a blind on his back, smoking a blunt with a blindfold. Got a necklace inked on his neck. It says, God grant me the serenity to hustle on. R.I.P.'s on both his sleeves, and he ain't held his baby daughter yet, but her name is inked on his chest, right under married to the game for life. It all used to weigh less or more. He can't remember which. But he knows they see him. He ain't invisible. He has a map, a story he told on his skin. Do you see me now? If you don't know the code, you broken tongue thinks it knows. It all weighs more or less what it used to. It's his story. It cares. It's his story. It matters. And he remembers not to care here like no one cared before he wrote the story, lived the caring of it. It's his story. It weighs as much as you choose to understand. He carried the weight of his life in his pockets, in his belly. It pushed up into his throat, bled and tattooed tears from his eyes that weigh more than they used to. He has dressed himself in tribal scars, his song of being, inked on his body, the book of him, not invisible, ace of spades, 187, a spray of bullets, the number 2800, legendary, a closed eye on a pyramid. Only God can judge me. Run your broken tongue across the scars. Become him before the story on his back. Could you carry it? All the dreams backed up in the boughs. No stars to shine on. joy, rushing out, reality, rushing in. Being born with a dead man's hand and a ticket to the merry-go-round in your pocket. Even mom's hand can't see the pain that pushes out his pores. The road is uphill, covered in broken glass, and the destination itself is the coolest cut. Most suspect for a boy whose mother dreamed a mighty man from the womb, and now he, the usual suspect, can't do what they want him to do. Trapped in a rebel suit, what else can a thinking man do? My mama ain't raised no fool! And this all weighs more than it used to. What would you do? What would you do if it beat your forehead to the ground? If it hurt in your back like old age from the very moment you were born? What would you do? Would you carry it? Would you? Or would you fall into ragged pieces that smell of ill-conceived dreams, watercolors in a storm, and the wrong conversations? He inked it to his skin so it would not wash him away. He had to carry it, the book of him, not invisible. Do you see him now? With the pockets bulging with needs and promise. Do you see him? Always a day late, holding up yesterday's coupon, reading Dred Scott and Ralph Ellison, seeing himself, seeing how he would make it be if he could. He has a map of the road he took, the one that was open, toll-free. Can you translate what that cost? Can you see him? In the crosshairs. You see him? Bleeding in the margin, looking for an exit. Do you see him? He has written the book of him. It used to weigh less. It couldn't have cost more. In the bosom, smelling like milk. Knowing this is as close to a honey as they ever gonna let you taste. It's bitter to the taste inside the house, walking on the bone. Somebody write the story, tell what it cost. Brown-eyed dreamers, crossing continents with spoons instead of knives. Hungry, everything that was gone, everything that was gone. Nothing means what it meant. Nobility turned savagery by ethnographers in struck. Untongued and stripped with God's culture, worldview, and geography, history became a piece of fire, weighing more than it meant in the land of locusts, written in running ink. The testament tested on the backs which it rested, unrepented sins confessed by invested priests, rewritten by academics, exploited by bankers, polytricksters, and other stripes of thieves, vegetable down the river, milk and honey on the other side. Someone must play cartographer, like clever clarinet, sitting in the door, know the language, read the signs. Somebody got to be sacrificed to sit in the bosom of these united snakes, holding the door ajar for nappy heretics. Dismantle master's house from the inside of the machine, where they grind the bones of scholars, feeding them lies to feed to others. Yea, though they have seen the inside of the valley, they help to manufacture shadow, trying to get inside track to the inside, jacking for position, praying tenure, dreaming of being lead sheep, content to eat well until the slaughter, where they too are delicious morsels, because wolves don't care to know the difference between a new white and real dark meat. Even a cafe or regular hard to degree, a card that lets the caddy skull and bone style is on the buffet after selling off his brothers. That truth and theology preacher, and African nations, to answer the call. Never mind who's on the phone. This is the room your grandparents died in too. Can they see us now?